Okay, so my example looks a little bit different than what you're doing. You have a full piece of paper and there are petals traced on the back of yours. So you want to paint on the front. I like to do half of them with two similar colors. So we're using temper cakes that are kind of like watercolor, but you have to spin your brush on them a little bit longer. So for this one, I mixed pink and orange. And remember, it's okay to show our brush strokes because we're learning about Impressionism, and that's what they did, was show their brush strokes. So this one, I decided to use one of those same colors to help them tie in together. And so I chose pink, and then I'm filling in the rest with purple because I really like those colors together. So we'll have to let this dry before we can do the next step. So now, moving on to the next step, you are going to have to cut out all of those petals, and then you can see that they've got rectangles at the bottom. We want to fold those in. Those are going to be little tabs to help us glue this all together. So I start with my biggest petals that are labeled a 1, and I arrange them in a flower pattern so that they're kind of all spread out and they look like the base of a flower. I'll repeat that same step with my next petals, but I put each petal in between the petal that I had before. So you'll see this one will get glued in between the two big petals. So now I'm working with my 2s. So you start with the biggest one first, and then you start putting the smaller ones in between. So you can see here, I'm putting the little ones in between the big ones until I fill that flower and finish that out. So this next part is a little tricky. This is already laid out on your paper. You're going to cut out that long rectangle that says center of flower, and you're going to make a fringe on the edge of it. So you're just making little cuts, but you're not cutting all of the way through. That's going to help us make the middle of our flower so that it hopefully looks somewhat realistic, even though we're making it out of paper. So once I've made those little cuts, I make just a couple on the other side, making sure I'm not cutting the whole thing off. That'll just help us glue it down when we're ready to do that. And then we're gonna roll this up, and you want the white side to be out. I tried this several times the other way and it did not work. And then we're gonna kind of bend those pieces back. So it's almost like you're making a mini flower to go inside of your flower. And if there's some white showing, we can fix that. We can bend things, or if we need to touch it up with something, we can do that. So then you see I'm ready to put some glue on there and stick down the middle of my flower.